Silence is the weapon of the greats. Because in a world addicted to noise where everyone is shouting for attention, broadcasting their dreams before they've even begun, true power has become invisible. The most dangerous minds no longer announce their plans. They move in silence. They build in silence. They rise in silence. And when they arrive, the world is forced to listen. You must understand, silence is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is not hesitation. Silence is strategy. It is control. It is the disciplined choice to withhold your power until the moment of execution, and only then, when it is too late for anyone to stop you, do you reveal what you've become. The weak are loud. They brag. They seek validation before action. They tell the world what they will do. Because they need permission, they need applause. They need belief from others because they don't yet believe in themselves. But those who move in silence, they've already decided. They no longer need to be seen. They only need to become. Think about it. Did Edison talk about every failed filament he tried before inventing the light bulb? Did Henry Ford ask for approval before building an industry that would redefine the world's idea of productivity? Did Carnegie whisper his every move to a room full of doubters before he forged his empire from nothing? No. They moved with intention. They moved with vision. And above all, they moved in silence. You see, silence sharpens you. It forces you inward. It compels you to ask deeper questions, to wrestle with the truth of who you are becoming, not who you're pretending to be. When you stop speaking and start building something inside, you changes. You stop asking for directions from people who've never left the sidewalk. You start paving your own road. This world is filled with people who talk. But history only remembers the ones who execute. There is a discipline in silence that modern minds have forgotten. We are so conditioned to perform, to project, to pretend. Social media turned confidence into a costume. Everyone is playing a character, the visionary, the mogul, the genius. But few have done the inner work to earn those titles. Real vision doesn't need to be advertised. Real greatness is patient. It doesn't care who's watching. It only cares whether the work is done, whether the path is walked, whether the voice inside you that whispers you're made for more is finally heard and honored. You move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're aligning. You're aligning your thoughts with your actions, your words with your walk, your energy with your end goal. There is something powerful about not telling the world your next step, not because you're afraid of failure, but because you're too focused on success to be distracted by applause. And that is the difference. The silent builder isn't avoiding attention, they're just not addicted to it. They know how easily praise can poison potential, because the moment you announce your vision too soon, you allow doubt in. You invite the opinions of the unqualified. You lose momentum. You lose mystery. And mystery is leverage. Mystery creates anticipation. It forces others to look twice. It keeps competitors confused and doubters in the dark. When you move in silence, they cannot predict you. They cannot prepare for you. They cannot copy what they cannot see. Great empires are built behind closed doors, not with noise, but with discipline, not with promises, but with proof. The foundations are laid in the dark, and only once they are unshakable does the world see the skyline. Let others talk about what they're going to do. Let them craft speeches about someday. You build, work, refine, master your silence like a blade sharp, deadly, and exact. This is the mindset of those who lead nations, command industries, and create legacies. They do not waste time seeking attention. They use that time to train their thoughts, refine their purpose, and execute with precision. And that precision requires restraint. Because when you're walking a path that no one understands, yet it's easy to want reassurance. It's easy to want someone to tell you you're on the right track. But here's the truth. No one can validate a vision they can't see. That is your responsibility. You must protect the seed of your idea until it's strong enough to withstand the storm of doubt. And that protection is silence. Silence allows your dream to take root. It gives you space to grow before you're judged, measured, compared. When you move in silence, You are not rushed by the expectations of others. You are not pushed off course by criticism or false praise. You are grounded, clear, untouchable. That's why the most focused minds withdraw before they emerge. They study, they train, they sharpen their thinking until the blade of their decision can cut through any obstacle. This isn't about being quiet for the sake of silence. It's about choosing where to speak, when to reveal, and how to act with intention, not impulse. Because when you operate with silence, your energy doesn't scatter. It accumulates, it condenses. Like a bowstring pulled tight before the release, your silence is the tension that builds unstoppable force. And when you let go, the world watches in awe as your arrow finds its mark. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are not here to explain every move, defend every dream, or dilute your vision until it's safe for someone else's approval. You are here to become, to rise, to execute. And execution requires discipline. The kind of discipline that doesn't need a spotlight to keep moving forward. The kind that grinds in the shadows, trusts the process, and finds fuel not in fame, but in the fire of purpose. So ask yourself, can you sit with your vision long enough to see it through without distraction? Can you hold your focus while others flaunt fake success? Can you build when no one is clapping and keep building when no one believes? That's the test. That's the power. Because when your work finally speaks, it will speak so loud, no one will remember that you were ever quiet. The strength of needing no validation. You are not born to be noise. You are born to be signal, to transmit something clear, something strong, something unmistakable in a world full of static. Every moment you speak unnecessarily, you dilute that signal. Every time you reveal your goals too soon, you surrender your leverage. There is a reason ancient warriors didn't announce their attack. There's a reason the lion crouches before it pounces. Power is most effective when it is hidden, until it is unleashed. And the same applies to you. Do not be deceived by the showmanship of the world. Flash does not equal substance. Loud does not mean strong. What the world celebrates today, it forgets tomorrow. But what is built in silence that lasts, that endures? Because it's not dependent on praise, it is anchored in purpose. You don't need a stage to validate your greatness. You need discipline. You need commitment. You need clarity that cannot be shaken by rejection or inflated by applause. Because when the applause fades, and it always does, all that remains is the truth. Did you do the work? Were you ready, or were you just performing? The world is filled with actors. You must be the architect. Architects don't decorate the blueprint. They draft in solitude. They work the angles. They calculate the risk. They prepare the foundation. And when it is ready, when the plan is bulletproof, only then do they build. You must become an architect of your life. Let the noisy ones rush into construction with no plan, no discipline, no endurance. You move different. You move in silence because you're building something that won't collapse at the first sign of challenge. Understand this. When you talk prematurely about your goals, you invite resistance you're not ready for. You open the gates to doubt, not just from others, but from within. Because the more you talk, the more you give your subconscious a false sense of progress. And that's the danger. You feel like you're doing something, but nothing has moved. Execution is the only thing that counts. So protect your energy like gold. Let your silence become your sanctuary, your forge. The place where discipline is shaped, where clarity is born, where purpose is purified through fire. And this silence, it teaches you to listen, not to the world, but to yourself. It sharpens your intuition. It makes you aware of distractions masquerading as opportunities. It tunes you into the deeper voice, the one that speaks not from ego, but from knowing. That is the voice you obey. That is the compass you follow. Because the man or woman who can walk forward without noise, without seeking permission, approval, or company, that person becomes unstoppable. Not because they're above others, but because they're no longer bound by them. You will be tempted, of course. Tempted to show off your progress. Tempted to post it, to say it, to let the world know that you're becoming more. But resist that temptation, that energy. Channel it back into the work. Channel it into the late nights, the early mornings, the meticulous attention to detail that no one will ever see. But you will know, and that knowledge is enough, because real confidence comes from competence, not noise, not likes, not validation. Competence is quiet. It doesn't need to talk because it knows. It knows what it's capable of. It knows what it's becoming. And that knowing, that inner certainty, is more powerful than anything you could say. You want proof. Look at every master who has ever shaped the world. Steve Jobs didn't advertise the iPhone years before it launched. He worked in secrecy, in silence, then dropped a product that made the world gasp. Walt Disney didn't scream about his vision for Disneyland every day. He worked in the shadows, faced rejection, studied, designed, executed. And when he finally unveiled it, it changed entertainment forever. Because true creators are not looking for attention, they're looking for impact. And impact does not require noise. It requires mastery, precision, a relentless focus on the goal, not the glory. So move in silence. Let your results introduce you. Let your discipline define you. Let your work, not your words, declare your worth. There is nothing more intimidating than the person no one sees coming. The one who isn't distracted. The one who doesn't need to prove. The one who disappears for months and returns a force. That could be you, but you must get comfortable being underestimated, being overlooked, being doubted. Good. Let them. While they talk, you transform. While they laugh, you elevate. And when you return, you won't need to say a thing. The results will echo louder than any announcement ever could. Because when silence meets execution, the world cannot ignore you. You are not here to be noise in a noisy world. You are here to be a presence, one that doesn't beg to be seen, but demands to be felt. And presence is earned not through noise, but through becoming. Stop promising. Start moving in the dark. They'll ask you where you've been. Let them. They'll wonder why you're so quiet, why you're not posting your plans, not broadcasting your next move. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Because every second they spend watching, guessing, doubting, is a second you spend building. Silently, powerfully. You see, the world is obsessed with promises. Everyone is announcing what they're going to do, what they plan to build, what they'll eventually become. But the rare ones, the dangerous ones, they don't promise. They just appear one day transformed. You don't owe the world your blueprint. You owe the world your results. Because when you promise too much, you weaken the intensity of your momentum. You create expectations you haven't yet earned. You allow the world to measure you before you've matured. And in that measuring, you shrink, you hesitate. You start adjusting your path to match the opinions of people who don't even understand the destination. That is why you must move in darkness, not to deceive, but to protect. Not to isolate, but to preserve the raw, sacred clarity of your vision before the world's noise can distort it. Think about how a seed grows. It does not break through the soil the day it's planted. It first fights through darkness. It stretches without praise. It develops roots before it shows leaves. It becomes something before it reveals anything. And so must you. This is your season beneath the surface, where there are no fans, no applause, just pressure, silence, discipline, repetition. But that's the part the world skips. They see the breakthrough, not the battle. They celebrate the tree, not the seed. That's why so many imitate the result of greatness, but cannot carry its weight. Because the weight is earned in silence, when no one's watching, when the lights are off, when it's 4 a.m. and your dreams still don't make sense to anyone but you keep going anyway. That kind of consistency, that kind of solitude, it does something to you. It makes you immune to the need for external reassurance. It teaches you that your greatest breakthroughs will not be announced. They will erupt from the inside out at the exact moment they are ready, but not a second sooner. And so, you must learn the virtue of withholding, the strength of not needing to explain yourself, the fire of doing the work without permission, without congratulations, without warning. Because the truth is, if you need the world to believe in you before you start, you will never start. The ones who build empires begin long before the world pays attention. They pour the concrete, lay the steel, hammer every detail in silence. Because they understand this truth once the world sees it. It's already done. The loud ones. They're still explaining their plans. Still asking for meetings. Still posting blueprints. The quiet one. They're already breaking ground. So ask yourself, which one are you? Will you keep announcing dreams you haven't yet chased, or will you disappear long enough to come back undeniable? Will you keep playing the part for strangers on the internet, or will you go so deep into your craft that you forget to check if anyone's clapping? Because here's the paradox. When you no longer need to be seen, you start becoming someone worth seeing. So stop promising, stop proving, stop performing. Let them underestimate you. Let them assume you quit. Let them talk about your silence like it's a weakness, and when the moment is right, let your return be so powerful, so unignorable, so incomprehensibly elevated that they can no longer speak at all. Become the one they can't read. You've heard the noise. You've seen the ones who shout their goals from rooftops, who dress success but haven't earned it, who sell the image without the integrity. Let them, because you're walking a different path. A path not paved with promises, but with proof. A path not lit by applause, but by purpose. You've chosen silence not as surrender, but as superiority. You've learned to withhold, not because you are unsure, but because you are certain. Certainty doesn't scream. Certainty moves. While the world scrolls for validation, you're sculpting something immortal, a mind so composed that chaos cannot reach it. A vision so clear it cuts through distraction like a blade. You've grown past needing praise, past needing defense, past needing anyone to understand what you're building because you understand it. That's enough. Discipline has become your language. Focus your fuel. Silence your shield. And when they finally notice, because they will, they won't be able to explain what happened. They'll call it sudden. They'll say you're lucky. They'll act surprised, but you'll know. You'll know about the early mornings that no one saw, the nights you worked when others slept, the sacrifices you made while they laughed, the days when doubt clawed at your back, but you kept walking anyway. You'll know that the quiet was the most violent training of all, because what you did in silence made you unshakable. And now you don't have to say a word. Your presence speaks. Your results shout. Your life becomes the loudest thing in the room. And you become a mystery no one can solve, a force no one predicted, a standard no one expected, because you moved in silence, and you became something noise could never build. So from this day forward, walk like a storm that hasn't yet broken. Think like a king who doesn't need a crown to rule. Act like a legend no one saw coming. Become the one they can't read, can't match, can't ignore. Move in silence, and let the world hear your echo when it's too late to stop you.